Okay. Now we're going to talk about something totally different. This one is called perpendicular lines. Perpendicular. D-I-C-U-L-A-R. I'm not an English teacher, I'm a math teacher. Perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines is symbolized by a upside down T. Because perpendicular lines is where two lines cross and they'll intersect with each other, but they intersect in a very special way. They intersect at right angles. You see perpendicular lines everywhere in buildings because unless you're looking at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, hopefully your building is a perpendicular line to the ground, right? And then you also see, I mean, like, look around here, Tejas. What perpendicular lines do you see?
Well, this right here is perpendicular.
Yeah, well, the frame of this thing is perpendicular. The walls are perpendicular, right? And, I mean,
we're perpendicular.
I'm perpendicular to the floor because I'm not like Michael Jackson moonwalkers now, right? It's perpendicular lines have a lot of relevance to our lives, so it'd be good for us to learn some math about it. Sound good? Now, what is the official way to define this? Actually, maybe not the official way, but the more mathematical way. To define a parallel line, I needed to say that the slope was the same exact thing. The perpendicular line is going to be a little bit tougher. What would the best way to be to show you how to do this? Oh, okay, maybe the best way to do this. Let's start off this. Y equals x. I'm just graphing that. Okay. Graph that line. That is a line, though.
Yeah.
What's the m?
What's the slope?
What's the slope?
Y equals x. So this is x, this is y.
What is the slope of this line?
Just straight.
No?
Where does it go?
No, I mean, what is the slope of m? Sorry.
Oh. I don't know yet.
You do. Y equals mx plus b. What number is in front of x?
Y.
No, number.
Oh,
What number?
Nothing.
Technically, there's a 1 there.
Okay. Yeah.
If it were 0, it would be y equals 0 times x, which is also known as y equals 0.
Yeah.
That's not what you want. It's a 1 in front of there.
Okay.
It's an implied 1.
Yeah.
I didn't write it, but it's implied. What is b in this case? Plus what?
1.
No, 0.
Oh.
Because this y equals 1x plus 0 is the same as y equals x. Because 1 times x is x, plus 0 is still x.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You see these two are equivalent?
Mm-hmm.
Can you graph this line?
Yeah.
Sure. Your y-intercept is 0.
Yeah.
You go up 1, cross 1. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Now for the tough part. I want a line that is perpendicular to this line over here. So if I go up 1, across 1, all right, what would be the best way to teach this? I don't even know the best way to teach this. My goal here is to try to just kind of hint things at you. I don't want to just tell you the answer, but I'm going to try to hint things at you until you kind of
Get it.
figure it out
Yeah.
for yourselves. I think that I'm suggesting that it would probably go through this point right here. Right?
Uh-huh.
It would probably go through this point and this point right here.
Why do you say it would go through that point?
Well, I mean, look at it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's perpendicular to.
I would say that's perpendicular. In fact, I would say that this thing right here, if I were to put a mirror right here, this line is reflected.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Around whatever point they cross, it would be reflected down.
That doesn't mean that all perpendicular lines are reflections.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't think that that's good terminology, but I mean, that's kind of how I look at it and think about it.
Okay.
Or here, if I were to, imagine this were a piece of paper, okay? And I were to take paint, like really heavy black paint, and paint it on here.
Mm-hmm.
Paint this line on here, and then fold it right across here. I would make this line.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So that would be a reflection, I guess. What's the slope of this line?
Isn't it the opposite of this one? Because it's going down.
What do you mean by opposite? The slope of this line was 1.
So that one would be -1.
Ah, okay, -1. You mean opposite by opposite sign.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by sign is SIGN, like the positive or negative in front of the thing. Okay. I agree. So perpendicular lines have slopes that are negatives of each other.
Okay.
That's what we've concluded.
Yeah.
That's wrong, but it's a good start.
Okay.
I like that start. You're halfway there.
Okay.
Let me show you why it's wrong. You're just going to ask that. Why is it wrong?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to say. This is how you know I'm a good teacher. Is I actually just started asking you the questions that you were initially were like, whoa. I said, why is it wrong, right? That's what you're wondering.
Right.
Let's try it out. Well, y equals 2x plus 4. Okay? I want to graph that line. That's pretty straightforward. Let's graph it. Go up to 4. Positive 2. 1, 2. Cross 1. Like that. Pretty cool? That would be my line. It's not the prettiest thing, but I'm showing you now that you don't need the prettiest thing. All right. You're suggesting that y equals negative 2x plus 4 is going to be a perpendicular line to this line. Because I just take the slope and I make it negative.
Okay.
So I start at 4, because that's what that says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I go down 2, across 1. All right. I don't know if I can have a better argument than this, but it doesn't look perpendicular.
That's not perpendicular. That's just going through it. X, right?
Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty good. It just doesn't look perpendicular.
Yeah.
Therein lies our problem. Okay. So
not all perpendicular lines.
yeah, and this wouldn't actually be a reflection either.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't paint this thing black and then like fold it across this line right here and make that line right there.
That would just be the same.
Yeah. It would be the same thing as what we did. We made a negative of our thing, but that we didn't make a perpendicular line. All right. I'll give you a hint. This is correct.
Yeah.
This is what we want to mess with. It's got to be a negative somehow. Okay? Because it can't be a positive slope and be perpendicular.
Uh-huh.
Right? I can't have these lines aren't perpendicular.
But so it doesn't.
So it
You're
has
saying that has to be negative?
Well, yeah. I'm saying that my final result of my
It
perpendicular
doesn't have
line
to be the
has to
same
be
number
negative.
though.
What is that?
It doesn't have to be the opposite but the same number. It can be a different number.
It could be a different number, right? I would think that it has something to do with the 2, though.
Yeah, so we change the 2 to a different number.
Okay. All right. I'm liking where you're going with this. Can I do this real quick?
Go ahead.
I'm going to write this as 2 over 1.
Okay.
Okay. I hate to do this, but I might just give you the answer and then kind of verify it for you.
I think that would be better.
Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. That's my perpendicular line.
Oh, okay.
You see the negative, right?
Yeah.
And you do still see the 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not.
It's just reversed.
It's reversed.
Yeah.
Because look, if
So
you
that's not
have,
to say you always reverse it with a perpendicular.
if you go up 2 across 1, then over here you'll go down 1 across 2.
Yeah. That's perpendicular.
Those lines are perpendicular. It's hard to draw perpendicular lines at right angles. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Maybe the best way to show you this would be, or actually, you know what? Let's make up the rule then.
She says the video's kind of choppy.
I know. I'm doing the best I can. If m for one line is equal to 2/3, then m perpendicular.
Is that actually?
That's how we would write it.
Okay, that is. Okay.
Well, I mean, usually they would say, what is the slope of the perpendicular line? I'm making that in symbols, I'm just saying perpendicular. Because remember, I told you this symbol, upside down t, means perpendicular. So m perpendicular, what is the perpendicular slope? If this were the slope of the first line, what's the slope of the second line? Well, we know it would be negative of this,
Negative 3 over 2.
and then you would take this and you would flip it upside down.
So it's negative 3 over 2.
Perfect. So, I'm going to make up two words. To find the slope, that is of a perpendicular line, you negatate. I don't know if that's an A or an E, whatever. Negatate and reciprocate.
There's an I.
C-R-O-C-A-T-E. I'm a math teacher, not an English teacher. Reciprocate. All right. You negatate, reciprocate.
Reciprocate.
We need to negatate to reciprocate. Exactly. You take your slope, you find the negative of that, and then you reciprocate. What reciprocate means is you take that fraction,
Flip it over.
you flip it over. Now, it might not always look like a fraction. It could be m is equal to 4. What is the perpendicular line? Or let's make it m equals negative 4. The perpendicular slope would be m equals positive because you change the sign, right?
Right.
That's what negatate is. If it's negative, you make it positive. If it's positive, you make it negative. Now you reciprocate. How do I reciprocate 4?
I'm sorry, you lost me.
How do I reciprocate 4? How do I turn it upside down?
Oh. So if it was 4 over 1, it'd be 1 over 4.
4. Perfect. You negatate, reciprocate. Got it? So, I think that's it. Oh, if it's not a perfect fraction, what you could do is, like let's say m is 1 1/3. What is the perpendicular slope of that? That would be negative, and it would be, you gotta move over just a little bit, 3/4. Okay, what did I do? How did I get 3/4? There was no 4 here. This is the same as 4/3.
Yeah, it's just the opposite.
So I just,
Yeah.
So I made it into a pure fraction.
Yeah.
And then I reciprocated.
Okay.
So, if you're given the slope of a line, or maybe you might not even be given the slope of a line, and you want to figure out what the slope of a perpendicular line is, then you would say, you take the slope and you negatate it and you reciprocate it. So, for example,
So what if it was the opposite?
let's go it was 3y minus 2x equals 5, and I want to figure out a parallel line that is, or perpendicular line that goes to the point 1, 2. Okay? I'm sorry, what do you mean, what if it's the opposite?
Well, what if they give you, so all the lines you've given us are this way, right? First?
Yeah.
And then it goes this way. So it's this way.
Okay, what if it's this way?
Yeah.
I gave you a line that looks like that. I told you, what if m is equal to negative 4?
Oh, okay.
That's a line that goes
yeah.
down.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then you just make it positive 1/4.
Right. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah. Alright.
So let's take a look at this one. This is actually the same problem as before, but instead of finding a parallel line, we want to find a perpendicular line. All right, you solve for y. So I've got 3y equals 2x plus 5. Y is equal to 2/3 x plus 5/3. Got it? I just did this one
okay.
before, right? What's the slope on this line?
2/3.
2/3. What is the
B.
all right, so m is 2/3. What's my m perpendicular?
3 2s.
3 2s?
Negative 3 2s.
Negative 3 2s. Good. So all I'm asking now is, what's the equation of a line that has a slope of negative 2/3
3 halves is the same as 1
or negative 3 halves and goes through the point 1, 2? So then what I do is I'm just going to say, okay, well that's really what the question is asking me. What is a
So that was the
line?
answer, right?
No, that's not the answer. I need the equation of a line.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's equal to negative 3 halves. So really the question was asking me, they gave me a line, but all that information they gave me the line from was just to give me the slope, which was 2/3. Then my perpendicular slope is negative 3 halves. Now I just solve this out, like use the point slope formula, or you do this like, I know that y equals negative 2 or 3 halves, x plus b, and I ask myself, darn, if I had an x and I could figure out the corresponding y value, oh hey, I could plug in 1 here and a 2 there.
Oh, so okay, I was
Yeah,
just
it's the
wondering
same
if we
thing.
were
We're
using
doing the same thing.
right?
2 equals negative 3 halves 1, but 3 halves times 1, which is still 3 halves plus b. Am I losing you? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
So b is equal to 2 plus 3 halves. So b is equal to 3 and a half. 3 and 1.
No, wait, what? No, wasn't it negative?
It's negative 3 halves, yes.
Yeah.
But when I brought it over to the other side,
Oh, okay, I see, yeah, got
it
it.
becomes positive 3 halves. Just like the other one was, I think it was negative 2/3.
So b is 3.5.
Or it was positive 2/3, so when I brought it over to the other side, I subtracted 2 minus 2/3, right? So this one I added 3. Yeah, so b is 3.5. So basically, here's my answer. I just take this thing, and I know what b is. It's 3 halves, 3.5. Or 7 over 2. It's the same thing. Cool. 7 over 2. So if you're asking me for the equation of a line that is perpendicular to that first line, 3y minus 2x equals 5, and goes through that point over there, then what I would do is I would take this equation, figure out what the slope is, which we figured out was 2/3, take the negative reciprocal of that gives us negative 3 halves instead,
Uh-huh.
and then use that information to figure out the equation of the line. Does that make sense?
Yep.
We cool? Online? We good? Alright. I think that was interesting. So today I finished successfully. I need to start another class in 2 minutes. I did get as far as I wanted, but I actually covered 2 out of the 4 things that I wanted to cover. So on Friday I'm going to talk to you about simultaneous equations and distance problems. But I really want to make sure I hit parallel lines and perpendicular lines, because you'll see those a lot on these tests, and you'll see that on your final exam. And I don't know why our math curriculum hasn't covered that yet. I don't know when they're going to cover it, but I think that you should know it now, because if I'm teaching in lines now, I think I'm going to move on to this thing called polynomials next. And
That's what it shows on our plan too.
yeah, it's going to come polynomials next. So, I mean, actually, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, you actually should have learned this in 8th grade, I think. Did you learn perpendicular lines in 8th grade?
We began to. I can't remember. I remember parallel and I remember part of perpendicular.
Yeah. So parallel lines, you just take the same exact slope. Slope is 1/2, the other slope is 1/2.
Yeah.
Perpendicular lines, you take the negative reciprocal. You negatate and reciprocate that line.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.